Coming to you from Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, this is the Quinn Spinn. Hey now, and welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one and all, to a brand new edition of the Quinn Spinn. I'm your host, the Quinn. I'm back here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, YouTube, and more for another rousing and riveting installment of the official podcast of Underground Music Collective. You just heard Revel 9's All I've Become, our opening theme song here at the Quinn Spinn since the great year of 2014. And it will be until the very end of days. And super excited to be here with you today and to be with Clare Cunningham, who, among other things, is making her Grand Ole Opry debut on March 18th, which is about, as of release date, because we're releasing this on March 9th, I forgot to tell you that, so we're breaking the fourth wall, is next week. So, and a new music video just was released as well for Clovers. We're going to get into all that stuff, but first of all, Clare, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
And it's impressive to watch that happen in real person. In real life.
I feel like that's the main reason people come on the show now, is just to see, like, if I pass out doing the I keep trying to hold it for longer and longer and longer. But yeah, but it's funny because somebody went on YouTube, I forget what episode it was, and commented like, "Oh, that's the most cringeworthy intro ever." I'm like, well, it's evolved into that over the course of 10 years, so the chances of me changing that now and doing something normal is just not gonna happen.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's your brand.
Exactly. This show is cringeworthy, so we're gonna be cringeworthy here. That's what we're gonna do.
Let's do all the cringe. I'm about it.
We'd be nothing without the cringe here. So
hey, my hair is probably cringy right now. It's raining hard outside, folks.
It's so humid. Like
I know.
It's so like I'm not used to this like stuffiness because it's winter.
I know.
Yeah, we're recording this. We're recording this during the monsoons in February. And like,
every year.
Yeah, huge storm just rolled through. It was 75 yesterday.
Yeah.
75 today, but like,
I think it's going to be 40 or something
today,
tomorrow. So that's typical Tennessee.
Yep. We're having a nice, typical 30-degree drop. And then the weekend's going to be nice, but that's in the past as of airing.
Yeah.
You all don't care about that. So, but we do right now because it is stuffy in here.
It's nice and warm.
But anyway, so I ask every guest of the show 3 standard questions to start us off. And those 3 questions are: who are you? What are your passions? And why on earth would you want to come on the Quinn Spinn?
So I am Clare Cunningham. I'm originally from Ireland, a little rural village called Collon in County Louth. But now I lay my hat here in Tennessee. My passions, of course, are my music first and foremost. That's always been the only job, and I say job in inverted commas, or in quotes, because it's a pure passion for me. And mental health awareness is something that I advocate for so heavily, but through my music. And then fitness. I'm a big fitness buff.
Yeah.
And a foodie and all the other things, but they would be my main kind of things. And why your show? Well, why not?
Exactly.
You're amazing.
Thanks.
Any platform that allows me a stage, a platform to be able to speak and talk and have people see who I am behind all the the craziness is just a beautiful thing. And I've been watching a few of the others and they're amazing, and I'm very, very blessed. So and you seem like a really cool guy. So.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks for coming on again. And yeah, we're gonna get into everything you just mentioned, as far as not only the music, but all the holistic wellness that you advocate for. Yeah. But before we do that, I want to know more about your background, growing up in Ireland, and how that influenced you, what it was like growing up in Ireland, and how that steered you, or maybe it didn't steer you toward a creative path and you found it on your own. But what was the influence of your upbringing?
Yeah. So I grew up on a road that had 3 houses. We were one of 3. And so there really wasn't all that much going on. My family life was very active, so we were into all the sports, and so I was very grateful that my parents were very forthcoming in their lending their whole lives to their children. I'm one of 4, so we were very, very kind of, I guess, what is the word I'm looking for, like we were very innocent growing up because there wasn't a whole lot of,
exposure to the outside world.
Yeah, in a respect. And so very, very innocent, but music was a big part of our culture, and it still is in Ireland. So I was always influenced by a lot of what my parents were listening to at the time, and then in school, amongst my peers, we were all kind of very into the music and again fitness. So I think they came hand in hand really growing up. But it's I knew I had to kind of spread the wings and fly in order to make a career out of what I do right now today.
And so was there a point where you decided, like, I'm going to make a career out of this, and like you started to put those pieces together, and like what was that point?
Honestly, when I was 3 years old, somebody asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I literally answered a rock star. And so something was born inside of me that knew music was my passion, and honestly, because it's a gift, I truly believe that it was always my calling. And I kind of always knew that. And to some people that might sound a bit odd or crazy, or, it's some people take a long time to find what they love and what they really are good at. But I found it at such a young age. So yeah, I'm just so blessed for that, because I always knew my path and I kind of just grinded towards it,
So what were some of the steps you started taking then once you came of age and once you decided to go in that direction that eventually led you to the United States and to Nashville? Like, take us through that journey and what that was like.
Yeah. So at 6 years of age, I decided that I wanted to learn the piano. So I started off keyboard lessons, and then when my parents saw that I had a real passion about it and I was really into it, we then got an upright grand that still stays at home. It's still there. Had piano lessons, did all the grades. Then I decided that I didn't ever decide I was going to be a songwriter. I think my poetry as a child was my songwriting. And then at around 16 years of age, after being selected at a lot of school plays and different things, I was always going to be the singer. And, so there was, even teachers had started to notice the musical side of my abilities. I picked up the guitar, and I self-taught myself guitar on the knowledge that I had from the piano. And then I started writing songs. That was when I really started putting music to my poetry. And then, so I left Ireland. Well, I left my home where I grew up to move to Dublin to get, that was a diploma, actually. It was in the rock school. It was in Ballyfermot. It was, popular music technology. Then I took myself off to the UK.
Okay.
I was in London for a couple of years, got my Bachelor of Arts in Music there, moved to Cardiff in Wales. I had a band called Smoking Aces that I put together. This is really the short of it, guys. It's a long story.
Yeah.
And then from there, I got headhunted on YouTube from a band called Thunder Mother.
Okay.
And that was where my career really excelled. And I spent 5 years with the girls, and then that's the process I started when I departed that band. I had always wanted to come to America. America was somewhere that really called to me, I felt. And so in 2018 I made the move. It wasn't that simple, but I did make the move.
Especially not from overseas.
Oh gosh, no.
So why Nashville as opposed to LA or New York or Austin or any other city?
Yeah, lots of people ask that, and it's a really good question. And I believe Nashville was calling to me for more reasons than just music. I did find the Lord in 2020, so I truly believe that the people that were around me when I first moved were the people that helped make me grow. And I was able to fall upon them for that. But musically, I loved the vibe in Nashville, you know. But now LA was somewhere I really did want to move to. But I just knew that when I moved to the States, it was just going to be easier. That there's the Southern charm and the welcomeness that comes in the South that reminded me of home.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, and at the time I was more into probably more of the popular country stuff, because I'm not a country artist, but I was so drawn to the atmosphere and the thrill that Nashville, really gives us. You know?
And it's a songwriter's town. It's a storyteller's town.
For sure.
And I think too, like, going to New York or LA, like for me, like, because I was thinking about New York before I moved here, because I'm from New Jersey. So,
right.
and I was living in Pennsylvania at the time, so it still would have been pretty close, so I wouldn't have been far away from everybody. But Nashville just started making sense. And like what I really came to find about Nashville is it's easier to find your people, not get so swallowed up in the grandiosity that you find in New York or in LA. Like there are more music people per capita here than anywhere else in the world.
Well, yeah, you're going to an area that already has people set in stone for your job or passion, and so it kind of makes sense. And you're right, there is that camaraderie as well of when you're new to town, that people kind of take you under the wing. And that was something awesome about Nashville that you do not get in a lot of places.
Very pay it forward kind of culture.
Very very.
And I think like you find the cutthroat mentality anyway. You can find it anywhere. You know what I mean? But like there's less of it here. Even today, even as, you've had the city grow and like an influx of people from other places, there still is that sense of community.
There sure is.
And I keep saying that sense of like, if you're doing good work for the right reasons, that people are going to help you, and they're going to want to see you succeed.
100% agree.
Yeah.
If your heart is in the right place and you are doing it, because people will sniff you out if you're not.
Yes.
And if you're not going to work hard and you're not going to show that you are a loving, kind and humble person, I think that really goes a long way as well here. Being genuine. Being genuine, because like you said, like if somebody's disingenuous or not doing it for the wrong reasons and not trying to pull other people up with, if you're not making it about something bigger than yourself, people are going to sniff that out right away. Oh, 100%.
And it's going to hurt your chances of growing as an artist. It's going to hurt your chances of growing as a person, because you're not going to have those interactions. You're not going to have those relationships.
Exactly.
So the best thing to do is just like identify your why, identify why you're here and what message you have to share that's bigger than you, because that's going to be the key. And like how you can use that to impact the people around you, to help the people around you, and eventually, broaden that circle.
Yeah. And that should be in every aspect of life other than music as well. I find when people are kind of self-fulfilling, it's that can only go so far. We're on this earth to help and be a guide to other people and be the light that we get sometimes in others. And I think that's so beautiful. And if you can pay it forward, like you said, I think they just, and that's why certain places are so special. And I think that's why Nashville is so special. Yeah.
And I think for professional reasons too, like there's no such thing as doing it all on your own. We had a great contributed article in our Wednesday Wisdom series at UMC from Sidney Eugene, who's worked for Sony, UMG, like, he's spent so much time in the industry, decades. And it's about redefining what a DIY artist is. And like, do it yourself. Like there's no such thing, once you get like past that certain beginning stage, like you need those relationships, and they need to be strong. They need to be sincere, they need to be mutually beneficial. And it's a great piece. Go check it out on Underground Music Collective. I don't want to get any of it wrong, but it was a really good like argument for like, let's change what DIY means, and the acronym, to not spoil it for you, like each letter means something different than what you would think, you know?
I like those kind of things.
Yeah. But it's so important to realize that it can't come down to just you, and as you're trying to grow your platform, like you're going to need those relationships. You're going to need people on your team. You're going to need to be able to delegate things. And that's something I struggle with. So, it is close to home for me.
Hey, if you need anybody, I need a team, so I'm happy to delegate. No, and you're right, though, that there's no I in team. But the main thing, I think, with a lot of these things is having a trustworthy few people around you. Like, it's like friendships. You don't need many friends. You just need a few good quality ones. And I think that's the same with our industry and as an artist. Like, you want people who see something in you and who believe in you and who want you to succeed. You're not just a number. You're not just going to get shelved, and you're not just a business model to somebody. And I think that's where I've always when people ask, oh, why aren't you this, that, and the other? I'm like, because the right people have not come along yet.
Right.
I really truly think it's a timing thing.
It is.
You know.
It is. The timing and just the vibe, the energy's got to be right. I'm a big proponent of protecting your energy. You probably, if you've watched or listened to the episodes,
Exactly.
you know that. And it's like, because if you have this energy that runs counter to your values around you, it's only going to distract you. It's only going to take away from what you're here to do and the impact that you're here to make.
Exactly.
You know, and over the past year or two, that's been big for me, is just like, you know, not putting walls up necessarily, but like limiting the energy that's distracting, that's adverse, you know, and just really focusing on like building that sense of community, that sense of tribe with people who are going in that same direction.
Exactly.
Share similar
Yes.
values.
You need to stay focused and disciplined and surround yourself with those that are of similar mindsets.
Yeah.
Because you will get distracted, and we all fall short sometimes.
Of course.
I included. It's, you know, and there's a few dangly carrots that'll come along every now and again, but God's will. So, you know, you'll always stay on track.
Yeah. And you recognize them faster as you go, you know, like I've gotten great at recognizing those dangly carrots, the red flags, you know, like, oh, I've seen this situation before. You know, maybe keep it at arm's length, you know?
Amen to that. Amen to that.
And so wellness, of course, is something that's very important to you in a holistic sense. Spiritual, mental health, as you mentioned, physical health, as you mentioned. Let's start with the spiritual piece, because you did start to allude to your faith. A few years ago, you found your faith again.
I did.
And so as much as you want to share about that experience and what brought you there and how that's helped open new doors and open your perspective.
Well, first of all, I'm just so grateful and blessed that I have restored a relationship with the Lord. Growing up in Ireland, we were religious, but not say spiritual. And some people may not understand that. And what I mean by that is you went to church, but you didn't exactly know who Jesus was. It was just it was kind of like a task that you had to do.
A chore, a formality.
Kind of, really, honestly. You know, you're saying prayers, you're living a life that is just, you know, you're saying it all, but you're not actually living it.
Right.
And, you know, I saw an unfortunate amount of like hypocrisy going on in the church. And just, you know, there was a lot. It was a combination of things that just led me to want to leave all of it. I was fed up, honestly. You know, and so with that, and I know I had to go down these roads and pathways, but, you know, everything into, like, there was witchcraft. I mean, and I don't mean that as a woo-woo thing, like, you know, sorcery, palm reading, angel cards, like psychics, like everything that like the Bible doesn't go with, right? And so, and it's all out there. There's a whole energetic world out there, and I was so heavily involved in it. The occult, I guess they call it. And then unfortunately, I was led down that pathway by really, you know, satanic kind of people as well. And then, you know, you mix that with and I have never abused any substance in my life, thankfully. But there are certain substances that you can take that will heal you, you know, quote unquote heal you, take you on these spiritual journeys. And I was led down some awful paths. It's just not even worth like describing some of those stuff. But I say this to say that in 2020, at the end of that year, and it had taken the worst kind of pathway that I did go down to then come out of that. And then just Christ really, I was open to, I had to leave that world behind. But it's been slow. Like even over the last year, I've let go of other things, like things I didn't even realize that I was doing and still holding on to that would leave a pathway open for that kind of world.
Yeah.
And it's just been such an amazing journey. You know, as much as, and I'm writing about this as well at the minute, it's going to be like a blog / memoir. There's been so many people I've tried to get to help me, you know, either with mental health, with, you know, overeating. It's a thing, you know, too much exercising, you name it. Like I I am a very hands-on kind of person, and the only relief I've ever truly gotten is the peace that resides within me, the Holy Spirit. And all the answers I need and ever have needed have been there. And so when I access that, it's just wonderful. Like no therapist has ever gotten as deep as the Holy Spirit. But you know, and I know everyone's got their own journey, and not everybody finds that, but it's yours and yours alone. And I love to be able to just share some of the things I have been gifted and given, and a new life. Like they say reborn, because you do. Like I've changed so much in these past few years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, for the better.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. I think no matter how you arrive to that sense of inner peace, the important thing is getting there.
Yes.
You know, and it's a really hard thing to do. And there's a lot out there in the world, you know, that will claim to be the thing to take you there. Right. You know, just like there's a lot in the music industry that'll claim to be your magic bullet to success, which none of those work.
They don't.
There's no such thing as overnight success.
Such thing. Or a diet pill.
Yeah.
It's all the things. It's like the quick fix.
There's no quick fix. No. You know, there's no quick fix. You know, and the thing is, like, it takes that work. It takes actually going inward and dealing with the discomfort to actually find that sense of inner peace. And like looking at the ugly stuff that most people will try to avoid through whatever means, you know, and actually like doing the work on why that's there in the first place.
Exactly.
And how to change your relationship with it. You know, for some people it is faith. For some people therapy works. For some people you know, but the most important thing I think is finding that sense of inner peace and inner wellness and leading with that, you know, and just coming back to that when those triggers happen, when those dangling carrots come up, you know, it's like, just remember where you've been and remember the work that you've done and draw on that work.
Yeah. And you've just touched on everything I advocate for. You know, everyone comes from trauma. Everyone has a story. Everyone is on their own journey. And this whole stigma that we can't talk about it, like face those demons. You're going to have to. We all have them, I included. And I'm being very honest in this you know, memoir I'm writing, more honest than I've probably ever been, but I feel it's my duty to do that.
Yeah. And
you know, the very premise of that inner peace, I've always said, is if you go within, you will never go without. And we all have it. It's here. It's 24/7.
Yeah.
But yes, when you go in, you know, you have to serve from a cup half full, half empty. Probably is what I really mean. But because if you're full of bad energy and a lot of trauma, you can't really take in anymore until you get rid. And I think it's that process that people find the most difficult.
Right. And getting rid of it means, again, facing that discomfort, you know, and it's discomfort for a reason, you know, because it's not easy to deal with it, but like it's important to, and it's important to share stories as well, because that's how not only we learn and connect to other people, but it's how we can help and have an impact too. Like we don't move forward if everybody just keeps it to themselves and just like toughs it out. And you know, like growing up in rural America in the 90s and early 2000s, like that was, oh, well, you need to toughen up, this, that, and the other. And even like in my professional life, people have been like, oh, well, you shouldn't talk about this because people aren't going to take you seriously as an entrepreneur. And just talk about it after. Talk about it after you've beat it. Tell people how you've beat it. It's like, no, absolutely not. Because there are people going through this very thing right now
who need you,
who need it. And like, I'm going to walk with them instead of at them, be like, I have the secret. Like this whole guru culture. It's like, I have the secret and you listen to me. No, we're all in this with each other. We're all in this together. And I was very happy because a couple of months ago, my co-host Jason, who also I went to high school with, like he came on for the express purpose of having that conversation of like, I'm in the moment of this and I'm dealing with this. And it's like, I hope it helps somebody. And that's what's going to drive us forward. Not this like, well, I'm so tough and unbeatable because I beat this thing way back and it doesn't matter now, when secretly it still does, you know, it's still
still there.
Like it's always still there. It's just you manage it better.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's not like you ever get rid of these things. Sometimes like you can heal and time will pass and you can evolve. But yeah, we all have our little triggers and our little things. But like you said, the more we openly talk about those, the more we realize we're not alone in our struggles. And I, like you, I'm so grateful, and especially you as a male, because I know, especially back home as well, the cultural way is like, oh no, we don't talk about our feelings. You know, that's not you. We don't do that. And then look at the suicide rates.
Yeah.
And so I really do believe that if we just are a little more open and honest and not worrying about because, you know, when we worry about what our friends or neighbors or family are going to think, they're all going through it too. And they're all hiding it. So why can't we just all be a little more honest, and then we wouldn't have these stigmas?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like, you know, whatever our vices are, and I'm not a psychologist at all. I have an English degree, so I just hung out for 4 years in school. But if I'm being honest,
life experience will
finals week was a party for me. It was a dream. I woke up at noon every day. I didn't have any finals. Everyone was like, oh my God, it's finals. I'm like, I don't do anything this week. I go to the midnight breakfast and I just hang out, write a paper once in a while. But I forgot what I was saying. I'm not a psychologist. Yeah. However, like how's that for a tangent, right?
I'm liking where this is going.
Like, what was my point? I'm not editing this. This is great. This is gold. Like, this is where I was going. All of our traumas just manifest themselves in different ways, you know, whether that's through addiction, whether that's through whatever we're addicted to. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be sex, it could be gambling, it could be social media, it could be other people and codependency. It all comes from traumas that we haven't resolved, right? And so the only way to break those patterns and break those cycles is to do your best to resolve your traumas, or at least make enough peace with them to where you can show up as a better version of yourself. Because if you don't do that, and I see friends and the relatives in these same patterns over and over again, but like the step that they're missing is actually addressing the root of the issue. You have to address the root of the issue. Because if you don't do that, like, it's just going to keep showing up. You're going to repeat the lesson over and over and over again.
Oh, 100%. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a sword wound. Like, you know, you really have to get into the nitty gritty roots and start cutting them and start like detaching from whether it's a social or a cultural kind of belief that you've had, or you know, when you grow up and you've been pounded down telling like by others like that you're not good enough or that you can't do this or you know, it's just like, it's those kind of things that if you're growing up believing, because our thoughts manifest into our bodies, and that's why a lot of illnesses, if you look at the deep core root of most illnesses, it's like stress, trauma. And you know, like, yes, there are, of course, you know, different illnesses exist and you can, but like cancer is one of the biggest killers here. And cancer, what is that coming? A lot of it is anger. It's crazy when you start, and I'm not a psychologist either, but I love studying this and I love to wonder why we are the way we are and what causes addictions, what causes these things. And you look at all the common denominator for all, and it's how did you grow up? What, or maybe it was a trigger. Maybe it was a traumatic event in your adulthood.
Right.
Something somewhere along the line causes our physical body to react to the outside world.
I think it takes time too to be ready to deal with those things, but like you just get to a certain point where it shows up enough in your life that you can't ignore it anymore, you know? And like, by not addressing that, I liked the Band-Aid on a sword wound. Another way to put it is you're trying to mop up the ocean, you know? Like,
I'm going to use that one. That's good.
You know, it's like, you could go at it all day, but like, you know, you're just treating the symptom. You're not treating the actual root cause. And the root cause always traces back to some formative event. And it might not be in childhood, to your point, because we can still have formative experiences in adulthood, you know, and I'm still having this whole Nashville ride for me is a formative experience, you know, for later in life, you know, and it's just like the things that we face, you know, they do inform how we see the world, but also the way we address those things is key.
It is.
So, and
it is.
and part of how you like to address things, of course, is with physical fitness as well, which I can appreciate because me too. Like that's the 1 hour a day I get, away from all this. So
it's the physical side of things, and I was so grateful because when I first realized I was suffering chronic anxiety, I was around 27 and I'd had it since childhood. And so for me, it was normal the way I was going about my life, but it wasn't normal. And thankfully, the doctor, I remember enough people kept telling me, you might want to talk to somebody. And I was like, no, I was so against it. Even culturally, I was like, no, it's nothing wrong with me. It's everyone else. And
right.
It wasn't. It was all to do with me. And I did walk into the office that day and I said to the doctor sitting down, I said, well, listen, the first thing I want to tell you is that I don't want a pill to make me feel better. Like I'm an active kind of go-getter. What can I do? So therapy, I think it was CBT, it's like cognitive behavioral therapy. I got to see a therapist, but he said also get yourself to the gym. Now I was very active in my entire life growing up and stuff, but it had gone a bit to the wayside. So I say that to say you don't have to go to a gym, but movement is clinically proven to reduce stress, anxiety, and it just makes you feel good all round. Now, the type of lifestyle that I lead is very much the type of lifestyle that an Olympian might, or a pro athlete. Like I am spending hours on my body a day, but that includes sauna, cold plunging, all of that stuff. But for me, I love it. It's a true need. It's my body just physically wants that.
Yeah.
But also it is partly because I think through a lot of traumatic experiences I've had in childhood and adulthood, especially with men, I think there's an underlying need to want to be strong.
Yeah.
To defend myself. Really, if I'm looking deeper into the reason why. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I don't think I've had, those experiences, but like, I was bullied a lot in school. So now it's like, I'm going to make myself as physically strong as I can,
Exactly.
and, it's not something that really happens anymore in my life, but it's just good to, feel like I can carry that load, and like feel like I can take care of myself and pick up for myself. And also, the stress relief, aspects of wellness, of physical fitness, like just putting it into your routine and giving yourself that to look forward to. It's almost like a reward for like, for all the screen time and for all the time working. It's like, okay, this hour's mine. Today I'm leaving my phone in the car.
Yeah, 100%. No, it is. It's a form of meditation if there's a way of explaining it. A lot of people have alluded to the fact that you never rest, you're never, but I'm like, but you've no idea that, like, when and I'll hit a bag every day, usually for like 30 minutes and on top of all of what I do. But that's like pure relief for me. Like I don't have to sit in a chair and be in silence. That kind of just doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah.
I'm so like,
yeah.
So if I can just be focused on something, and training for me, like putting in a pair of headphones and just focusing and just being so in that moment and being present is just, nothing compares to that. But again, not everybody likes, like, most people have to force themselves or have motivation to do it. But you don't, like I said, you can just walk, you can do something that actively raises your heart rate, because you will find more benefits than just in the physical attribute of it. It's like your inner being, you're more youthful for it. You'll make better life choices. And plus, if you put your body through something really hard every day, what follows that is not going to be that hard. You're going to be able to, things will bounce off you a lot quicker and easier than if you've pushed your body to a limit.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, relaxing isn't sitting in front of the TV. Like, that is that's
my torture. I would be tortured.
Oh, it's so boring. Like I was up back home for Christmas, and like on Christmas Day, I'm just sitting there watching football all day. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to go work or something. Like, I need to pull out my laptop and do something else, like, to focus on. But I mean, to your point, yeah, you don't have to go like and jump right into CrossFit. You don't have to go and jump right into something intense. Like, find a routine that works for you. Yeah. And over time, if you want to add to that routine, you might find that you want to. You might find something that you really like and you're really passionate about, but like, something's better than nothing, especially in the beginning. But the point is, like, we're made to move, like
we're primal animals. Yeah. Like, really. Yeah.
We're not made for this sedentary lifestyle where you're sitting in front of the TV, binging Netflix, and then, you're scrolling through social media. Like, I mean, I'm guilty of the scroll myself. I spend way too much time on my phone, to be honest, but it's like, also, I get up and move because, like, I need to. Like, if I go 1 or 2 days without, like, today's a rest day, so tomorrow absolutely cannot be a rest day.
Yeah, no, I know.
Because that second day, I start to get real, like, antsy.
Yeah. And you know what? You never have to explain that to somebody. I gave up explaining why I'm so fanatic about what I do. I love it. It makes me feel good. People get the best version of me. So I don't really care too much about people telling me I do too much, you do too much, you say, it's just everyone knows best. Now, I'm not going to say I don't take constructive criticism, of course, but you see, the difference is now I listen to the Holy Spirit that guides me. And I honestly, you all can call me Lula, but every day upon waking, when I call in the energy, oh man, it's like I get extra sleep for it. Like, I feel like I just get fueled by the Holy Spirit every day. And people ask me at the gym and stuff like, what are you on? I'm like, I'm on Jesus. And they're like, what? This makes no sense. But I've always been like that, but I'm even more so now.
Right.
But yeah, everybody, like you said, you have to find what works for you and your lifestyle. But please never say, I do not have the time. You do. You have 24 hours every day. How you utilize those hours and prioritize those hours is exactly up to you. So yes, you may have a family. Yes, you may have a job. Yes, but you get up 30 minutes earlier. You go to bed 30 minutes later. Whatever it takes, if you really want to do something and you really need something, like if $800 left your bank account today, and the bank called you and said, you need to be here in 30 minutes or else that 800 is gone, you would get in your car and you would be to that bank. So it depends on what is most important for you.
Yeah.
I really, truly believe that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you'll find a way or you'll find an excuse. And that's really what it comes out. It's that old adage that you see on, so the motivational memes all the time. Yeah. I found it funny, too. People say, oh, you do too much. You need to slow down. It sounds like my mother. And if you've listened to the show, my mother's the best friend I've ever had. I miss her tremendously, but like, as far as this goes, like, we couldn't have been more far apart. Oh, you do too much. Oh, I can't keep track of you. Why don't you go sit down somewhere? And it's like, I can't.
This is where we're twins. My mother will watch this and she'll be like, yes.
Why don't you go sit down somewhere? No, like, because that is dreadfully boring to me. I can't do it. I'm laughing and very excited the fact that you are very, like, it intrigues me when other people are like this, because it's very hard to explain to people why sitting down is such a problem. Yeah. Like, and again, I stopped trying to explain that. I'm like, this is how I am. And there's been only a select few people who are like, it's awesome. You're really energetic and you're really primal and just be you. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing, but not pretty much 95% of people just don't understand. Right.
But they don't have to. Right. I think how you feel and how you are and what makes you feel good. Plus, we're probably a combination of a couple of letters. Like, who knows?
Right.
Most creative people are not the average 9-to-5 goers, and who, don't take pleasure.
The 9-to-5 is another thing. Like, I don't ever want to go back to that.
No.
And I've done that, and it's like, yeah, like, you've just got to do whatever raises your vibration, do more of that. And it's different for every person. Some people love the 9-to-5 and the simple life. And like my sister and I couldn't be more different in terms of like our approaches to life. Right. Like, she wanted to teach, she wanted to have a family. She did both of those things. She's really good at both of them. Cool. Yeah. But like, there's an understanding that we have with each other. Like, I'm the crazy brother who moved halfway across the country. And, like, she's in, close to where we grew up. And, like, but we have that sense of respect and understanding for why the other is the way they are.
Right.
And no matter, like, somebody can be completely opposite from you. And what that's taught me is, like, you can still understand and respect them for their way of life and for their choices, for their decisions. There's no reason to antagonize somebody for being different from you and your approach to something. And it's possible, it's possible to, get along and understand the completely opposite perspective, but at the same time, you've got to do what's right for you. At the end of the day.
100%. And that's exactly what you do. You do it for you, because if you live a life for other people's wants and needs, you're going to live their idea of what life is. And so a lot of the times that's why we not fight, but we come up against people continuously who say, you shouldn't do this, you should do this, you name it. But at the end of the day, that's their limitations or their opinions. And a lot of times, unfortunately, people around you who tell you to do something less of what you're doing is probably because there's a guilt in them and they want the same amount of time or the same amount of energy, and they don't have that, or they don't have it instilled in them, and they don't want to see you have that. And so they'll kind of sometimes subconsciously try to tear you down so that you come to their level, so they can feel justified about their actions and their lifestyle. But sorry, folks, like that's not the way you get people to respect you. Or
have you heard of the crabs in the bucket thing? Don't be a crab in a bucket, and I think, like, you could always take feedback and, like, listen to what other people say and, like, take what is true from it, but, like, don't lose yourself in that. Don't compromise yourself and your values and what raises your vibration to be your best to please someone else. That's something I had to learn. Like, I think, within the past year, I finally let go of people pleasing,
right. That's the
major
biggest one.
People pleaser, and it's so much more freeing to just not do that anymore. Because it's like, you're still respecting other people for their perspectives, but it's like, you don't need to live their life. You don't need to fold and make yourself small for them, based on how they would approach a situation, based on how they would do this, live their lives,
Right.
You are the expert of you.
Yes. And at the end of the day, you're living your life. And, so many people get into even relationships. I've always said this, like, thinking they're going to change the other person.
Oh, man.
And that is sad because if you start making little changes or thinking that you're going to, either within yourself or on the other person, you're going to find later on down the road, you're going to really probably regret those. And you're also going to be resentful, because a lot of relationships like that don't end up, the test of time. And then when people say, oh, I lost myself in that relationship, that's because you did. You let go of your values, your core values, your beliefs, your way of being to please somebody else. And yes, we all should make people around us feel good and happy, but we should never, ever lose sight of our core being. And that's exactly what you were alluding to. And I think it's a tough one, because not everybody's going to like a strong personality. You're
going to rattle cages.
Yeah.
You're absolutely going to rattle cages.
But then you're doing something right when you are. I because, like, you strike me like very similar to me. I'm very respectful and I'm very open to people's opinions. But it's not, I don't wake up every day thinking, did I please Sally yesterday? No. Who do I want to please? The Lord. I want to be doing His will, and I want to go about my life in a respectful, kind, honest manner. And then the right people will be in your pathway. Because if you're continually living a falsified version of yourself, you're going to attract people who are also probably doing the same.
Yeah. And, it's interesting you bring up relationships, because I see that all the time too. I mean, I've been in that situation. I was in a long-term relationship where, like, we couldn't have been more different as far as, like, again, like, I always had these little rumblings of ambition, and she was like homebody, like 9 to 5. And, like, so much of that relationship was just spent on us trying to convince the other to be like more like us. And despite all that, we had a good run. It was 7 years.
Wow.
But it was going to end. It was always going to end. And there was, to your point, like a lot of resentment, bitterness. I think I was the more resentful of the two, for a long time. And like, again, over the past year, like we actually like cleared the air and like, I think like just forgave each other for a lot of things and a lot of the resentment. And it just comes down to like, okay, like you can't change another person, nor should you try to, but you can still respect that they are the way they are and find the good in them. And, that was so powerful for me to like experience that and finally like let go of all of that, because it's just like, okay, now my relationship with that whole time in my life is like, I appreciate the time and the growth that it allowed me, the growth that I think it probably allowed both of us, and because every situation you are in like that, even though it's never going to work out, it points the compass more in the direction of what is right for you. And, that in itself is a process that I'm still figuring out, in that area of my life and taking a break from it, honestly. But like, you're always growing and you're always like learning from those experiences, the ones that don't work out, like there's something of value, even from, I think, the worst situations we encounter. Yeah. And there's a way that it makes us grow, and I think empowers us to step more into who we are.
Oh, I've got a song and I think it'll come out in April, and it's just exactly about all of that. A lot of people ask why in the moment, like, why did that happen? Why am I going through this pain? But you are for a reason, because a lot of closed doors, a lot of traumatic experiences, a lot of the bad things, and I'm gonna do this bad things, are bad at the moment, but you'll see, maybe not in the moment, the goodness that lies within that situation and the people that we need to then remove or get removed. It's a learning curve, and we're always going to go through like life like that. But learning to be grateful when things are going awry in your life is really the pivotal point of true growth, I think, because then you realize, now I see why that had to be the way it was. Yeah. Why I didn't get that job. Why I took that wrong turn. Why that person never came in my life, Yeah. It's beautiful. You learn. You live, you learn, you grow, and that should be the way we live every day. Yeah. Yeah. And when you come to that point of inner peace, it does give you a better understanding of what that was all for. I think, to my point, I'm going to be 36. I actually, as of air date of this episode, I'm going to be 36 tomorrow on the 10th. Well, happy birthday in advance. Thank you. This is my birthday episode. And like, my entire 30s to this point have been like clearing those decks, right? And now like coming to this point where, I feel like things are going really well, with professionally, personally, like I'm really at this point of inner peace. It's like, well, it's because of all the muck that the first half of my 30s, had me wade through in one way or another. Like, you don't get to a point of inner peace, and you don't get to a point of being able to connect your experience without first having those experiences. And it's important to do that. And like nobody wants to go through it. We'd all, I think, rather just have an easy time navigating through life, but life just doesn't work that way. Nope. It certainly does not. Right. So you've got to fortify yourself. Yeah. It's so true. For every kind of bad experience that, you have to wade through, go through. And I like that. Go through the muck of my 30s. That would be a good song. The muck of my 30s. It is. It gets you to where you actually need to be. And then, like, when something else comes on top of you that may be traumatic, you know where to navigate your inner being to. You've already done and gone through this before, or you've and this too shall pass, right? It's an amazing saying, because it's like, it will. Like, trauma does not last forever. It can within us if we don't learn to forgive or we don't let go. And that's a big component of finding that, good place within us. Yeah. Because, I hear it said so much too, like, forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. It's for you. It's so you can make peace with whatever happened. Yeah. No matter how awful it was. Like, you've got to get to a point where you can push beyond it. Yeah. And you can move forward from it,
And I think there's a difference between moving on and moving forward.
Yeah.
You know, like moving on, because like we've been talking about, like you never completely forget something, right? Especially if it was a trauma, especially if it was, you know, a big event in your life, you know, for better or worse. But you can move forward from it. You can move forward with the lessons from it. And that's the important thing, is to make sure that you're always putting yourself in the best position to do that.
Yeah.
And realize that, you know, a lot of what we encounter in this world, whether we want it to be or not, is temporary. Relationships, jobs, whatever situation, like a lot of it doesn't last forever, you know, it comes for a season, you know.
It's either a season, a reason, or a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of people don't really want to forgive just because they feel like they're condoning the other person's actions. I'm here to tell you, as somebody who has forgiven everybody who has wronged me, and I mean in the worst possible ways, in order to forgive somebody, you have to find somewhere within you to realize, like, why has that person done that? And it does not condone what they do. There are terrible people in this world who do terrible things, and I've been a victim of some of those things. But you have to find it somewhere within you to realize that, like that age-old saying, hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And so they probably don't wake up in a morning and think, I'm going to go out and do this. So you're not condoning their actions, but you're allowing yourself to just rid yourself of what it is they've done, and so that you can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps they'll continue doing that, but they're not at peace and they're not at ease. And it takes time. It's not like you just can. I'm not ever going to sit on a stage or on a platform and say these things unless I personally have been through them and I have done these things myself. And it is not easy, I promise you. And it is okay not to be okay. I am an advocate for mental health. I have come out the other side, but I too have issues and problems that I continue to have to struggle and deal with. However, I don't let it affect me the way it used to.
Right.
And that's a big part of that, was forgiving and letting go, but also just realizing that whatever is happening for a reason, whether I see it at the moment or I don't.
Right.
You know?
And I think it's also important to realize too, like, you know, to your point, that that other person, you know, the other party involved who wronged you, like, they may still continue to behave that way. Their healing is not your responsibility.
Exactly.
There's nothing you can do to heal somebody. There's nothing you can do to change someone, to convince them that they should be different. You know, there's nothing you can say to get someone to find what they need to find within themselves.
I love the fact that you said that, because I think so many families and friends struggle with people around them. They're trying to get them into therapy. They're trying to get them help. They're trying to get them to see that they're not okay, especially with addictions, I believe. Unless the person in question wants to heal themselves or even can see that they have a problem, you are wasting your time. And I mean that from a place of love. I don't mean you're wasting your time because you love them. Of course, you want to see them better. You want them to get help. But it's just a serious waste of time until that person in question sees it within themselves and who really wants to heal, because they're on their own pathway of destruction. Up until I was 27, I didn't want to hear what anybody had to say. I didn't take anybody. I thought I knew best. And there are times, of course, we'll still find ourselves, but you can check in with yourself now, and I can check in with a higher power rather than having to go to other people or a therapist, like I said. But that's just because I've found that to be more beneficial now. But there are people I know and who are around me who desperately need help, but they don't see it. So all you can do is be a lending hand and a good ear, but it's a broken record on repeat.
Yeah.
And it tears families and it tears friendships and relationships up continuously because one person is invested more in their self-healing than the other.
Change comes from within.
It does.
It does.
It's as simple as that. And it really does. And I know everything we're talking about, if there's somebody watching or listening going, oh yes, the same old, you know. But I think you can advocate for it, and so can I. And
Yeah.
you can only listen to people who've been through these things themselves.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know how else to put it. It sounds textbooky, but I promise you, everything I say is from experience.
Yeah. I mean, there's truth to it.
Yeah.
And that's why you keep hearing it in the personal
I
development
think
space.
so. I think that's why a lot of cliches are cliches for a reason, just because people have been through it and can advocate for it. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we have a few minutes left. I have a few more questions for you. One, of course, talk about the music and everything happening there.
I know it's everything about music.
This is a music podcast.
I
right?
know. I'm sorry.
No.
But
Honest-
it feeds into my music.
It all
though.
does. And like honestly, like our experiences inform how we show up
Yeah.
in a professional sense. Whatever we're doing, like, you know, people say, oh, well, you got to keep the personal separate from professional. No, especially not in the arts.
No, it's a
It
whole.
it informs, like, one has to be right to serve the other and vice versa. Like, there's no, like, if your personal stuff isn't put together, your professional stuff's going to suffer for it, and vice versa. You know, so with that, you know,
songs are born from stories. This is the story.
art over algorithms, people.
Amen.
But with that, it does tie together. And so recently here, as of release date of this episode, you just released the video for Clovers. So tell us about the creative process behind that one.
That song is it's a pure love I have for it. You know, like I said, I came back to Christ in 2020, and one of the people who were already based in Nashville was I call him my pop bear. He's called Drac Rodney Gibson, and him and his family are the most adorable people put on this planet. They're Christ followers. They just have the love and they exude the Lord. And just faith had it that I was put on a project that Drac had been doing some engineering for. Then they put us in contact again. We didn't end up working on it, but we ended up writing Clovers. And because Clovers was the first song, when after I came back to faith, it was a thank you to the Lord for always being there. If you listen to the lyric, you know, I know you never left my side. And it's just really just encompassing everything. Like, I've washed away my sin and guilt, and still do, you know. It's like you never become perfect. We're never going to be perfect. But that song was birthed because of my rebirth, I guess. And he is just like Drac. He never talks about himself, but I promise you that man is a living legend. And he you know, he worked with Prince back in the day, and just the production on that whole song, but the video, I'm so excited. And I know when this gets released, it will have been released, and you will all get to see the magic that was put into it, because it's pure magic. It's dark to light, and that's as simple as I can put Clovers, you know. It really is. And it's a testimonial kind of song, really. You know, and for anybody who feels like they'll never see the light or they'll never be able to change, I promise you, the saying is, when you're saved, if somebody like me can change the way I have, I think there's literally hope for everyone. But I'm not going to ever push that. I don't want people to ever think I sit and I'm a grandiose, like, oh, you need this in your life, you need to do this. No, I just found the way through my own journey. And all I can say is just I feel so much more peaceful. And not everybody, and I promise you, there's people who are close to me who don't maybe see it or they don't understand it. But that's okay, because I just want to show love. I want to show grace and mercy the way I have been given that. And that song also is just about, you know, just showing the new me, you know. So yeah, I hope you all like it, because it's a true work, and it's a true piece of art, I guess.
So it's out now, Clovers, the music video out now, and going from that right into the next big thing. Saturday, March 18th, you're making your debut at the Grand Ole Opry. You're stepping into the circle.
I am.
Which, I mean, I actually, when I moved to Nashville, I worked security at the Opry. So, like,
Yay.
I have an understanding of how big of a deal that is. But for those who don't, how big of a deal is that for you as an artist? And, like, just what led you to that experience?
Yeah, I you know, it's funny because I think worldwide, the Grand Ole Opry is just a prestigious stage.
Yeah.
It's got that notoriety that like legends upon legends have stepped into that circle and debuted themselves and have continued to be in that circuit for decades. And you know, I never thought something like that, and I don't say would ever happen to me as an artist, just simply because I'm not exactly your typical country artist. And you know, people's limitations when I first moved to town were things like, well, you know, you're never going to play the Opry, and if you won't be successful if you don't have a 615 number, and if you're not doing country music, forget it, and all these things. And I was like, guys, honestly, like, tell me whatever, but I'll be over here doing my thing, you know. And I had it on when I used to do dream boards, and I had that kind of like lifestyle, the Grand Ole Opry was on there. I really for a million years literally thought that would ever be something I would do, and I've stepped on the stage more than once, but it's never been to debut. So it's like I feel like I've had little sprinkles of getting to see what the whole backstage is like and stuff like that, but not ever getting this once in a lifetime opportunity to really go on the most prestigious stage that exists in music, especially country music. Wow. Like, hello.
And just the quality of the production there, just how well everything about that experience is done, you know, for the performers, for the audience, you know, for everybody at home. You know, they have the Circle TV network now. Like, it's just like, there's nothing quite like it, you know, to be able to be on that stage, not only on the stage, but to step in that circle is a tremendous accomplishment, and congratulations for the opportunity.
Well, I thank you so much. And to everybody, I mean, it's been an outpour of mostly love, honestly. It kind of is overwhelming, but I have to give it back to the man upstairs, man, because there's no how am I getting this opportunity over people who have been here or been in the country music scene for their entire lives, who may never get to do or experience this. So I know I've been given this opportunity just simply because I've been asking the Lord, I'm like, I need a bigger platform. I need to be able to reach more people with what I've got to say and with what I'm doing right now. And I know it was a timing thing, because now I am ready to step into something of such prestige and be able to, I'm not like egotistical, and I'm very, very humble, and I'm very grateful. And so I just want to be able to use that opportunity as a next stepping stone to the next thing that will come along, to whichever is in his will for me. So, you know, I'm all about it. So I'm so grateful.
So speaking of what's next, 2023 is still just underway here. There's a lot of year left in play. So what are your plans after the Opry?
We'll celebrate. No,
of course.
I'm going to be on the road a lot this year. I've got a lot of Celtic festivals mainly, some different corporate things that I do, but yeah, I'll be doing quite a bit of traveling. I do have to put together my next steps for being in America, because I only am temporary. So this is my second visa, and so third time round now, I'm hopefully going to go down more of a permanent road, but that's a lot of work, and it's a lot of stress. And so that's what a lot of this year is going to entail as well. And I'm just very open to anything else that's going to come about. But just, you know, honestly, I used to have these visions and goals and dreams, and I've since let everything just go and flow, because what's for me is not going to pass me, and it is a timing thing. And I've really come to be peaceful with that, and not forcing my way into things that are just clearly not meant to be. But definitely going to be recording I am at the process of recording 2 separate projects right now. Another Celtic project, have no name for that yet. And Helping Hand is going to be my next kind of EP/album, and it's going to be kind of inspirational faith-based stuff, because I haven't done that yet. Not the faith stuff, at least. So there's going to be lots of videos coming, lots of songs coming, memoir/blog. Don't know what it is I'm doing. I'm just writing and writing and writing. Right now.
Figuring
38
out
pages.
the best format. Yeah.
Literally, yeah. People are like, oh yeah, and is it this style or is it this? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm just going with what is being led into me onto the paper at the minute. So yes, so lots to come.
Lots to come, lots going on. So make sure you follow Claire everywhere you can. We'll get to that in a minute, where all the socials are. But before we ask the socials question, and then I sign off, if there's one lesson that you've learned along this entire journey that you would impart to your younger self, or maybe to somebody starting out on their own, what would that be? What's the most important thing?
Stay true to yourself. Listen to your inner being. You know what feels good for you. You know where you're being led. Don't get distracted by all the noise around you and people's limitations and people's ideas of where you need to be. Always believe in yourself and stay true to yourself, and you'll never do yourself any disservice that way. And I truly know that, because I had it inherent in me. I was always going down my own way. Nobody was going to stop me or will stop me from what I need to do. And anybody coming in who's new or who's feeling a bit like, I don't know what's for me, just listen to yourself, because all the answers are inside of you. And if you go within, like I said, you'll never go without. So yeah, it's just true belief and self-love, self-care. You know?
Yeah.
Big
Absolutely.
time.
Yep. I love it. Where can we learn more about your journey and follow it online?
Yeah. The easiest place is really my website. I run it all, so I'm no technician. But it's www.clarecunningham.music. That's ClareCunningham music.com. And every link is on there. So yeah, you'll find the music links, the social links, and anything else that I care to put up there if you want to have a look.
All right. Well, Claire, thanks so much. This has been a pleasure. And we could go all day, but I only have room for another half hour.
We could do a Joe Rogan and do 3 hours.
I've had a lot of guests like that lately, where it's like, we could, if I booked the room about 3 hours longer, we could fill that 3 hours. But yeah, it is what it is. Only have so much time, but
appreciate your time.
We'll do this again.
Yeah, I'd love that. And thank you. And best of luck to you on everything. This is amazing.
Thanks.
What you do. So thanks for giving us a voice and a platform.
Appreciate that. Yeah. We're trying to make that bigger and better and apply a lot of these same principles, so this is a good conversation, good example of what we can do together.
Yay.
So. And this has been the Quinn Spinn, 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. Also learn more about the show primarily on Instagram at Quinn Spinn Official. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter too, but really Instagram is the main one. Also, undergroundmusiccollective.com is our central hub for all things independent music, creativity, community, and more. You'll learn more about the show there. And, of course, everything else we have going on in the UMC ecosystem. You can also learn more about UMC on all the socials: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. Follow the UMC 20 playlist on Spotify. It's updated every Tuesday with 20 fresh tracks and the latest episode or episodes of the show, because we're going to 2 a week until probably the summer, when, probably schedule-wise just have to go back to 1. NashLive.live has your live music hookup for all things happening around here that we're putting on anyway. I mean, there are a lot more things happening, but if you want to know what we're doing in the live event space, go to NashLive.live and follow at NashLive Shows on Instagram. Revel 9's All I've Become, going to take us out just like it brought us in, the end instead of the beginning, and I'll see you next time, and I'll be 36 then. Hey now.
Now